Hey guys, this is the FPL Tips team, and welcome back to the live stream. Welcome, Akhilesh. We see a lot of people joining us soon as well. There's a special guest joining us today too. But first, hi everyone in the chat. Welcome, Akhilesh. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. A good week, and it's regular business already. Things are flowing fast. We have had a lot of information from Gameweek 1. I'm sure we're going to get more in the coming weekend as well. And because of the information, you sort of start wondering, doubting your teams, thinking, like being happy with some part of your team, of course. So, yeah, it's the part and parcel of FPL, and we are here to talk about it. I think you're on mute.
We're back to talk about it. Yep, audio video seems better, at least for my uh, efforts are at least visible there. Akhilesh has improved his setup too, so we're trying to get in more professional with this. But let's wait. I think our friend will join us soon. He's sort of the third member on this now. He's a hop off sort of guest for this podcast, but I think he's bringing a new angle to it, and you guys will love it. But let's just start talking about. I think he's here. Let's just add him on the stage. Sarvesh, we're gonna add you on the stage once you're ready. We are already live, so in case you want to give us a thumbs up on the back end. Yep, we're adding you on the stage. Hi, Sarvesh. Hi. A lot of you guys already know him. He is very big and famous on Twitter. He does a lot of cricket stuff, but he's also an avid FPL player. He's been playing it for 15 years now, and his viewpoint is very data centric, and it's really good to have him over here. Welcome, Sarvesh, to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Anshuman. Good to be here. Finally, we have been planning this for some time, so yeah, feels nice that it's already happening now.
Yep, feels nice. Feels good to have three people now talking about three different clubs. Just a quick overview. We're three fans of three different clubs. I'm a Chelsea fan. Sarvesh is a Manchester United fan,
You can see it
and
from the wall.
Sarvesh is a Liverpool fan. So we'll actually kick off from that point and start discussing our games, going into that aspect of how things pan out for our own teams. Move into what the game week looked like for those teams and how they played out. First, we'll start with Manchester United versus Fulham. If Sarvesh wants to walk us through that.
Yes, I think if you consider United's performances from last season, I think this was a very good game in terms of numbers, because United last season they considered more shots than the relegated teams. That tells you that how bad they were defensively. And this game they considered around 10, I think around 10 shots. Last season they were averaging around 17 shots. So they were considering a lot more shots. Now, looking at the first two games, I'm also talking about the Community Shield and what happened against Fulham. I think the defensive shape looks a lot better, and I think it will eventually get better because of the new setup that we have. I mean, for the people who don't know, the coaching structure has completely changed. So what we have right now at the club is there are multiple coaches, different coaches taking different roles. Even the set piece coach is different now. So I'm expecting a lot of changes this season. I'm also expecting some improvements when it comes to set pieces and the goals scored from set pieces. So I think from that perspective, I think it was a good game. Even though I would have liked to see United score much before than when they actually scored. I would have liked to see them score at least one or two goals, maybe around 40-50th minute. But I mean, I'll still take it.
You're on mute again. Sorry.
Yeah, I was on mute again. I was saying that it's pretty much evident of the XG as well. They conceded only 0.4, which showcased how defensively good they were. And generally, they seem like more composed and contained. The only two, I think Fulham had two big chances, and the only two chances came off pure mistakes and counters, which I think Garnacho lost the ball a couple of times and they were countered. So it seemed like a more contained and controlled game, which generally was not the case last season. So there's a definite improvement on that front and aspect.
Yes, I think both Casemiro and Mainu had solid games when it was going to the sort of the attack point as well. So they looked in so much more control. Should have been more than one goal, I guess. Definitely. You saw Bruno missing big chances, Garnacho missing a big chance as well. So on a different day, it could have been 3 or 4 goals. So I think it's good to see United back and taking some control and also not conceding too many big chances. 0.42 XG at home in an opening weekend. I think it's like sort of an improvement from their defensive stats as well.
But we understand the defensive point. I think there's a couple of entry points for the United defense if someone wants to consider down the line. I think at 4.5 you have your right back coming in. There's Dallo at 5, but sort of more important or something that we need to talk and address more urgently is Bruno. What do you think about it? What do you think he'll continue to play in that sort of position that advance every game, or Xerxes will just start taking up his minutes and positions easily?
I think for now, I think it looks like Bruno is going to play the number 10 role. In the first game, he played as a false nine, but I think you expect Zagzi to come in and he will sort of occupy those spaces. So what will happen, in my opinion, is Bruno and Zagzi, they will interchange a lot in between. So Zagzi is not a pure number 9, so he likes to play up somewhere around 9.5, somewhere around that. And Bruno is also pretty much central. So I think these two will basically interchange a lot. They will play centrally. And then right now, we also have Ahmad in the mix. So last season, that was not the case. So now, since he is there, so you don't really expect Bruno to drift towards right or left. You expect him to be central, more central, and spend a lot of time there. So I think Zerxes' addition is also going to help him because he's also going to help him create some spaces in the middle. So I think in long term, I think it is going to help Bruno a lot.
Okay. And as the chat also says, like it's probably just Fulham who is not attacking wise good. Well, to me on the eye, it didn't seem that when they had the ball, they were sort of more creative. They stringed up a couple of good passes. It was not like they were really bad. Yes, they're Fulham. They were in general not that good, but I think United's defense also needs some credibility here. They were really good.
Yes, I think they did have a solid game on that aspect. And another point to add about the Xerxes Bruno conversation, I feel the spaces that Xerxes occupies is also not like a traditional forward. So
Yeah.
that probably gives Bruno that space to attack. Also, Xerxes is
Yeah.
sort of known to come back and track back a little bit and give that space to the others, which the wingers should exploit, and so should Bruno. So we might as well see the output of chances that Bruno gets as a goal scorer in the pre-Ronaldo times, where Bruno was such a good FPL asset.
Okay. And did you guys notice him having more set pieces? Because I didn't. It was I probably the same.
I think he's going to have. I mean, since Shaw is not there, so I think he was on corners for I think both sides. So I think since Shaw was not there, and I think in my opinion he's going to continue doing that. So now we can also see that Ahmad is also good at taking some free kicks and that ball. So I think he's also going to be in the mix. I'm expecting Mount to take some free kicks as well, but I think long term again you expect Bruno to take a lot more set pieces, a lot more free kicks.
Yeah.
But again, that's not the only point here. Another point here is that the coach that we have, the coaching setup that we have right now, I'm again mentioning it, but the new set piece coach that we have right now, I think he has proven in the past that he can have that positive impact. And basically Bruno is on at the end of every set piece, so I think you will see lot many. I'm expecting the team to score a lot many goals from set pieces, so I think Bruno will get some assists from corners and kicks as well.
Okay. So like that just adds to the point that we should probably hold him. For the people who have him, hold him. But when we look at sort of the fixtures coming up for Bruno, I know I'm jumping up ahead here. The Brighton, Liverpool, Southampton, Crystal, Tottenham. They're sort of like good 4 fixtures. Do you think someone would jump from a Gordon to or a Jota to a Bruno at this point of the game, or should you just hold on? Because there will be positional change, as you said, in the next coming game week.
I think you should still be a bit cautious. You can do that. I mean, there are other options available at that price point because right now 8.5 is a very tricky price because you could potentially upgrade that to a 10 million midfielder, or you could basically downgrade and you will have a lot of options. So that price tag is a bit tricky. Had it been available at 7.5 or 8, then that would have made this choice so much easier. But right now it's still in a tricky phase.
Okay, so I think
I would agree with that.
yep, that sort of solves our problem. It's probably more of hold if you have him and don't buy right now.
Yeah.
Okay. there anything else that was stuck out? I think ESR was to me. I was really watching ESR, so personally, I didn't feel he was really close to the goal. He was more on the creative ends. He was sharing some set piece duties. He was not on all set piece duties, but he was as I thought he would get inside the box. Probably it was United, so maybe it was a tough game. He was not inside the box, but he was not making those runs either. It could be purely due to game state, but as of now, it doesn't look like he's getting in the box as much as we thought he would after preseason.
And now they are set
Absolutely.
to sign Sander Berge as well.
Yeah, exactly.
From as another midfield addition. This match, Andreas Pereira was playing as a sort of a deeper role.
Yep.
He generally plays as a number 10. In this match, I think Andreas Pereira was pretty impressive. So sort of if he does play as a number 10, doesn't mean that Smith Rowe will be dropped per se, but the minutes will be shared among Smith Rowe, Iwobi, Andreas, and Adama. So then it sort of becomes a little tricky, and Smith Rowe needs like more game time, as Marco Silva himself said before the game, that he's not there yet in terms of his match fitness, in terms of he's been out for a couple of years, most part of a couple of years. So sort of there will be some sort of sharing. But that being said, I think the fixtures are really good, and for the time being, at least, since he had a good preseason, I think he'll continue to start a few games. Maybe in a longer run, he might not be that solid an asset. Who knows?
Yeah. I see a lot of. I just mentioned this because I see a lot of drafts basically relying on midfield of 5 million and 5.5 million guys, and ESR is one of them. I don't think you should rely on him right now. Yes, the next two fixtures probably will prove that, because they face Leicester and Ipswich in the next two. If he does good in those, there's probably a long-term shout to it. But again, his minutes will be really restricted around 60-65. That's pretty evident with the manager's comments and what happened last game. Okay, I think that's pretty much about Manchester United and Fulham. Next up, Akhilesh, your team, Ipswich versus Liverpool, and a lot of talking points with Trent, Salah, Jota, Konsa, especially because a lot of us had Konsa. Even I had Konsa. So you take us through.
Liverpool were nervous. They were shaky to start off with. From the preseason, Liverpool, I've seen they were so much like free-flowing, confident, playing out of the back, like which has not been the case under Klopp. It's not always that they have a patient build-up within the same box. Like every now and then, when there's a press, you see clear Alisson or Van Dijk trying to play the diagonal to Salah. That was more evident in the second half. But in the first half, it's still the work in progress slot style that they were playing, trying to play through the lines. And that's where the midfielders of Gravenberch and McAllister, their strengths also lie. So trying to play according to that strength didn't work out. Ipswich were really good at the start. I think they pressed really high and they were looking confident at home coming after 22 years. So they were playing with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, but sort of ran out in the second half. I'd say second half it was fully Liverpool, completely dominant, racking up the big chances, getting the XG. And as we see, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'm sort of wanting to say this, that he's sort of coming back to the asset of the old, where he is sort of occupying the entire right-hand space. He's playing the through balls to open up chances, and he's also involved. I think there were two big chances that were evidently seen just before the goal, which was scored, one to Diaz, one to Jota. And everything is going through him. So at 7 million, he's much cheaper than what he was last season, and he's in all of our drafts, most of our drafts right now. So sort of goes without saying that he is a very, very good pick. Kwanzaa in the defense was sort of the disappointment this week. I think a lot of people wanted the cheaper route to Trent, especially with Liverpool having the set of fixtures at the beginning. But it was disappointing that I think although Kwanzaa was decent with the ball playing from Liam Delap, sort of was trying to bully him and got past him a couple of times as well. And sort of the aerial battle ground duels were all, if you look stats wise as well, in the first half, Liverpool were losing them. And Konate coming at that point did make sense in terms of the sort of strength he can to win the ball back and not like let go of too many chances. And rightly so, Liverpool barely conceded a big chance in the second half. But I do expect Kwanzaa to sort of play in the games where Liverpool have more position and more control. So I'm not completely. I don't completely think that he will definitely start Brentford, but I think he's sort of the control guy. Had a better preseason, and I don't expect him to be way too harsh on him and drop him for the Brentford results. So I'm leaning towards saying that he could start the game at home against Brentford, and which makes him a keep for now, and then hold your transfer. And also you can bench him if there's like another defender. So it's not a priority sell, at least in my opinion. Sorry, I took a while there.
No, I'll jump on the more important topic and address that here because I have Konsa too, and I feel it's we really need to not turn on the fence on this because if we have him, we start him, and that's what the opinion I am, because if we start him, if he gets minutes, that's perfect, that's great. I think it's a good fixture to have minutes. I don't see it as a clean sheet fixture, but it's a good fixture to have minutes. So, but if he doesn't play, I don't think he'll come on as a sub in the second game as a defender. So that's not going to happen, in my opinion. Although for people who want to sell him, it is important because a lot of Konsa owners will sell him and his price will drop to 4.4, which at this stage of the game is important because generally people are like completely maxed out on budget. They don't have really money in the bank. You will lose out on 5 million options even if you have that case. So it's good that we have like a conclusive uh, answer to that, in my opinion.
There's also a factor that Konsa is basically blocking one of the Liverpool spots, and right now there are too
Yep.
many people want Jota, Salah, and they basically want to triple up on Liverpool. And if you already have Konsa, then I think then shipping him out and then getting Jota, I think so. I think we are in that territory where you'll have to also think of from that perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because if you are looking at game week 4 and 5, you can shift to the fixtures. Liverpool have 2 prime home fixture where Salah could be the standout captaincy. And even if you're sort of open to getting down Haaland, but if you're locked in with Kwanzaa, Trent, and Jota, and you can't go to Salah, that could really be an issue as well. That's a very important point.
Yeah, and I agree. Personally, I feel that he will be given the minutes too. I think if the manager has come out and said that that was a problem, that is why I subbed him off so directly. I think he will give us a hint in the press conference. I am
Yes.
pretty sure if he's sort of the guy that he will come out and say, okay, that I will give Konsa a chance, or maybe he needs more time. If there is something on those lines that he needs more time, he will be like he needs to practice more, something on that sort. I think it's a sell. I really wouldn't put my hopes up because he could still get there. But again, if the manager is doubtful about him from the start, then if not this game week, the next couple of game weeks could be a dead end for him. But if he's confident, if he says that no, I'm going to give him chance, he's been good playing good preseason, then I think it's a hold, and then you start him.
Fair. I agree.
But let's move on to the attack, and I include Trent here first. Start up with Trent. I don't have Trent. A lot of people probably don't because the budget issues were real, and now it's come a situation that do I move right now to Trent? Do I move early, jump on him? Do I wait out? Because owning Trent at this point would be downgrading someone either in the midfield, which is a 7.5 million midfielder, to a 5.5, or downgrading Solanke, which also we will talk about and looked absolutely great to own. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should people really jump to Trent right away and like rip apart a bit of their team to have him?
Akhilesh,
I
go
mean, the
first.
guy had 3 bonus points. Just
Okay.
heads up, like
Yeah.
yeah, without a return.
Yes, he is a bonus point monster. Like he almost got all 3 bonus points. He didn't.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
edged ahead by Salah.
Yeah.
But at some point of time, it looked like Trent is getting all 3 bonus points, and he's a bonus point machine. So I don't. I mean, I think dodging him for the Brentford home fixture could be a viable idea, because if it's the first week and we all want to roll a transfer with the 5 transfer rule. So you need not sort of jump on the train and sort of be in a thing that if they do lose a clean sheet, then you are facing Manchester United away in the next week, where you don't expect them to keep a clean sheet either. So I think you mentioned this in the previous pod as well. You are first looking at a clean sheet and then looking at an attacking return. And although Trent could have gotten an attacking return, if you can dodge the Brentford fixture, then you can sort of make a long-term plan to get him in game week 4 and game week 5. Especially if you're like sort of downgrading Haaland, then you'll have the money to do an upgrade to Salah and an upgrade to Trent. That I think could be a viable option.
I completely agree, and I think the best time to do that, to get Trent if you don't have him already, would be when you play the wild card. I think that's the best time.
Okay, so probably jump into an early wildcard 4, game week 4.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah,
depends.
possibly.
If he looks like you're losing out on too much because of Trent, I think that should probably be the case. But now I think you've made your bed. You sort of try to fish that. You go ahead with him. There are some non-Haaland drafts who are like really afraid of Haaland this week. We'll come to that later, but still.
I mean, they should be. I totally get why they are, but I'm personally not a guy who's really. I feel if Konsa just played out the 60 minutes, this would not be a discussion for a lot of people, because they would be satisfied enough with like the 2 point difference is justifying the 3 million difference of price. I think that's fine. So I is really down to if Konsa starts or not, if he's available or not. If he's not, then it's a case where you have to rethink your strategy, probably go around, then start thinking whether you want a wildcard game week 4. I think game week 2, ripping apart your team is pretty early, because you give each player at least 2 game weeks to sort of figure out his form and understand how he did well in the couple of games, see if he's fitting in the squad or not. So fair,
And you get
I
new
think.
information next week. So
Yeah,
if you
I
have
think more
if you
information
have
is
the two
important.
transfers, then you can make a better decision next week than this week.
Okay. Do we need to talk about Jota and Salah now? There a lot of people jumping want to jump on Salah. What do you think about it? I'm personally not of that high favor of him.
Yes,
Like, he played well. Yeah.
the same argument. You've made your bed. You have the structure. You don't need to break the structure just after game week 1 to sort of bring in Salah. You knew what Salah is. You knew what he is capable of. It's still a strategy you made beyond that, and sort of maybe him outscoring your assets can happen in 1 week, but it's not necessary that keep repeating. Now if you didn't have Salah, you probably have Haaland. Now just like sort of pack him for the Ipswich home fixture and maybe Salah to get a little lesser points.
Okay. And Johnson didn't start. Just wanted to point that out for Ipswich. I don't think he started, right? If I'm correct.
He didn't
He did not.
start, but
Yeah, he came in as a stub. Yeah,
he
I
came
think
in
that
of
was
the
more
sub.
tactical. Yeah,
He replaced the right wing
yeah.
back who was actually injured. So, which could mean that Johnson might come into the starting lineup next
Yeah,
week.
but that's,
So,
just not a long-term fix.
yeah, there's still no standout 4.0
Well,
with
yeah.
Barco also not playing. So, it does seem like a confusing spot. So, it's an unplayable spot. You just keep hold of it. There's no need doing any transfer over there.
I think Tuanzebe is not a natural right back. He used to play at centre back for United, and all this since he's been. I mean, throughout his days with United as a reserve, I think he was always there as a centre back, but sometimes he could switch to right back. That is his natural position. And I also feel that he sort of played there because Tuanzebe started his game. Sort of, it could be because that because of the attacking threat that Liverpool brings. So maybe to negate that, they might have used him there. But maybe going forward, you will see that position could also be that could get rotated with Johnson. I think I'm expecting him to start.
Okay, that's something to watch out for then in that case, because I agree with the point. Tonzebe could have been a more defensive approach than a general normally attacking Ipswich team.
Yeah, in that case, the game against City is not going to reveal you too much as well. That's another game they're going to adopt a defensive approach. You should probably
Yeah,
wait for
exactly.
more information.
But let's just quickly skim through the other games as well. We've Arsenal, Wolves. Anything that stood out for you apart from Saka?
Kai Havertz.
I didn't watch the game, so is there anything that is?
He's just central, and he looks like someone who wants to score goals. Like the decisions he's trying to take are very selfish, and from an FPL point of view, you'd want that. I was watching the game. There were times where he could have sort of like played a 1-2 with Odegaard or Saka, but no, he's just looking at an eye to goal, and he looks like a very, very good option for 8 million, and could be a move from Isak also if you eventually when Arsenal's fixtures turn to the
Yeah.
to the nicer side.
Yeah, they do. At one point, they do.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so that's one. Anything else?
And as usual, the defense, which we keep talking about, I
Wait,
think
there
solid.
was.
So
I think Wolves did have a couple of chances. The Arsenal defense at one point, as far as I read, did look shaky. Like a couple of chances were really good for Wolves,
Yeah.
but overall they managed well, and I think that will
Saliba
happen
didn't have
this
the
season.
Saliba didn't have the best of games. He was just giving the ball away too often, and which is not. It's just an anomaly. So
Yeah,
you
it's just
just
like
don't.
I think it's just start of the season, just fresh legs.
Hmm.
It will kick in when they have regular game time and everything happening.
Anything
Okay,
to
so
add?
Arsenal Wolves. Service, anything to add?
No, I think he summed it perfectly. I think selfish. That point he made that they made that he was selfish. I think that's a good sign when you talk about FPL. So I think even I will be keeping a close eye because I think he's going to increase in price. So I think a lot of people will be jumping in, and that particular price tag is also pretty attractive when it comes to strikers. So I think one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, seems like that. Okay, and Saka is a like I can keep talking about Saka now that I'm a Saka owner. Finally, this season, last season I wasn't, but he's a phenomenal FPL asset to own. I think if you don't have him in that sort of midfield, I think in the premium category he's probably the best one to own. And this is something I wouldn't say last season, but this season I'm pretty confident of at least knowing what he's doing there in the field. And if you don't have him, consider like I think you should make plans to getting him. Not if not this game week, probably the next one or after the City game at least. But you should definitely have him in your plans.
No, but if you've not, this is again the same argument. If
Yeah, I
if
mean
he's not
not
in your
this game.
team,
Yeah,
I think he's the standout captain next week. But after that, he has Spurs away and Man City away, where Salah has Nottingham Forest home and Bournemouth at home. So you have, if you have made the sacrifice of Saka, it's probably to have Salah. So it's just the bet you've made, and they are gonna keep matching each other. You're gonna keep talking about how good they are, an asset both of them are. You can
yeah,
have
but
only
then
one,
that's the case if they're matching each other. I for that price point, I would like Saka's output. That's
definitely.
sort of the point that I want to make, and it's fair if you don't have the funds, don't rip apart your team for this particular game week, but just keep an eye on him. In fact, I wanted to ask you if you had only one spot or one chance to go to an Arsenal player, would you pick Havertz over Saka at this point or any given point in the coming game weeks? I know it's really less data to base it off, but looking at one game week, would you consider? Because double up is obviously nice, but like between the two.
I'd still go Saka at this moment. I really like Havertz, but there is more options in the forward line, I feel, at this moment, and Saka is on penalties.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Okay.
I think with Saka and Bruno Fernandes, one thing is sure that they are going to play almost 90 minutes each and every game.
Each and every.
Even if there's some issue with the fitness, they are going to come back. I mean, you expect these guys to make to recover quickly and come back. So I think Saka, yeah, it's a clear choice.
Okay, just a couple of questions in the chat before we move on from the previous game that we discussed. Which a lot of people asking our opinion finally on Konsa. Do we hold or sell him for a price? Sell him for a similar price player right away. What are your opinions? Quickly.
Hold.
Okay.
I think his price is going to drop for sure because we expected this with Bako, and I think it is going to happen with these two players. So I think if you are worried about that, so I think you can do that. But right now, I think the people have options because I felt Robinson was also pretty good. So I
Pretty
think there
good.
are
Yeah.
options at that 4.5 bracket. So I think it becomes a bit easier to pick another replacement at this point. So I think you can do that.
Yeah.
I would
If
personally do that.
I would say if he's your third defender, hands down do it.
Yeah,
Don't even think about it.
yeah,
If he's your fourth player, I think give him a chance. There is one game week you can hold him off. But again, if your third, it really depends how you structure your team. Your
Yeah.
third defender is also someone who's really weak, maybe like a Mikelenko who needs to be rotated. That was your initial plan. Then stick to the plan. Sell Konsa right away this game week, probably today. Don't wait for the press conference because his price will drop, and I'm pretty certain about that too. Closer to Thursday or Friday, his price seems to be dropping, I think.
Yes, then I mean, definitely a thought to be had. So because if that's the case, let's sort of discuss the replacements itself. I think Robinson you mentioned is probably the standout with given his fixtures. Are there anyone outside that you're sort of trying to think about and suggest?
Um, I'm not sure. How do you pronounce the right back? Maruzi? What?
Mazraoui.
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 Sorry. Mazraoui is
Yeah,
the
I think
guy I would look at because he was really
that's
good.
yeah,
He was really good. Sorry for jeopardizing his name, but he was really good in that game. And he I think he's 4.5. And
yeah.
United's fixture looked decent. If they continue to have that setup fall in place for them, it could work out for them. So I would do that as a 4.5. After Robinson, obviously not ahead of Robinson. First Robinson, and then this guy. I didn't like what Everton did, so Mikalenko is not an
Yeah.
option. Newcastle again can't say because of the red card. I think it was really poorly.
Livramento.
I can't say for sure if he'll start next game week. That's sort of the problem because it really depends
Yeah.
on what they want from that game. I think
I
I
think
think that is why.
if you want to upgrade, then I think you also have option of Munoz. Munoz is also a good option at 5 millions
Yeah, if you
if you
have the
have that
funds, you
point
can
five.
always upgrade. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but okay, I think those three. I think in order of Munoz, Robinson, and then Mazraoui. Then those three.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, Arsenal Wolves, Everton Brighton. I didn't see that game. I saw the highlights. There's nothing to discuss. I think what stood out for me was Mitoma looked good. He had a couple of good chances, racked up decent XG. So he looked decent in that game. Minte went off injured. I don't know how severe that was, but I think he'll be fine in a couple of game weeks, if not the next one. And no Barco, obviously. And a lot of people scrutinizing a lot of content creators for Barco. But honestly, with what preseason footage gave us, or at least the picture that was in front of us or everyone, he seemed like needed to start. I wouldn't be surprised if he's jumped in, just thrown into one game randomly where he starts. But he didn't even come on as a sub. Do you think that's a huge worry, or like the preseason was completely false at this point? Would you just
I
I
thought
mean, personally, there's no doubt that you just should hold Barco, but what do you think about that situation?
I thought there was some issues with him physically, like injury wise. That I mean, I might be wrong, but that's probably one of the reasons why he was not seen. That being said, I've mentioned it in an earlier pod as well. I think he's a generational sort of signing that they are expecting to have. Like there was a lot of like he was very highly rated uh, as a left back. So you'd see him take the place and sort of move forward with Brighton as a stepping stone is what I feel. So I think eventually it's gonna be difficult to stop him from starting, from what I understand of how he plays. But overall, yeah, I think he'd be a hold.
Yeah, just overall hold. I think it's fine. Don't waste your transfer on a 4 million guy. But I don't think we need to monitor. Nothing apart from the Brighton Everton game stood up. Everton really looked shaky. Didn't look settled. I think they'll need a lot of time to sort of include the defense, get that through, get that correct. Anything that stood out for you from the Brighton Everton game? Anything that you remember?
Sarvesh, did
Uh,
you?
yeah, I think Barco. I think in my opinion, if you have both Konsa and Barco, then I think you need to ship one of them out because they will be dropping in price, in my opinion. So I think that's one point, and I think, like you, Anshuman, rightly pointed out, he's more in for a long term punt. I mean, he's going to be that player that they expect him to do a lot many things in future. So I think this is just a start for him. So I think in future, I think he will be a good asset. But I think for now, I think you'll just have to assess what your team needs. If you have like two defenders who are not starting, I think you can definitely ship him out.
Okay,
And
fair.
also
Yeah, I think it
about
was.
this game, I think is I just wanted to highlight like we had like lot of chances that weren't converted into goals. So I think this was another game where I felt Pedro could have scored. He could have come out with 8 or 9 points. That didn't happen. So I think unlucky for the owners. I think he was unlucky in my opinion.
Okay.
Solid show from Brighton. I think
Yeah,
they were good attacking wise and they were
yeah,
solid defensively. I think under Husler, this is a great sort of start for them. They are signing a lot of new assets. Like they've signed Jorginho Rutter from Leeds as well. So there will
yeah.
be that historic risk with their minutes. But yeah, definitely a team to keep an eye on. Again, like Liverpool, their game week 4 and 5 fixtures are sort of turned. So if you want to enable a Salah, then downgrading Eze or someone to a Minte, I think would probably be viable. Minte looked really good he actually went off as a concussion substitute, and Huzzler is confident that he will be back for the weekend. So it's
So
another
he was a concussion substitute.
yeah, yeah. So it's just something to monitor. Definitely, I think they're a great team to watch again. So a team to keep an eye on.
I see
Okay,
a lot of people jumping on Welbeck at the moment. So what do you guys think about Welbeck? I see a lot of people trying to get him.
It's a little
minutes.
reactionary.
Yeah,
Personally, I feel it's a minutes problem eventually going through. I mean, I've always liked him for a couple of games, but again, it's a minutes problem going ahead largely. We don't know if he'll start all games, and he's not fit enough to play all games either. So,
yeah.
I mean, nothing up against the player, but just generally the thing. He's sort of that age. I wouldn't really jump on him.
Yeah, true.
Okay, and we quickly skim through the other games of importance, which is Newcastle, Southampton. I think there's not much I want to discuss on this game because
Yeah.
it was sort of be reactionary after the red card. They completely changed the way they wanted to play. So just more like sit back, defend, don't consider goal sort of team. What stood out is Southampton was really good. Armstrong was really good. So that's
Yeah.
something really, really to consider for people who want to find money for sort of Trent, Salah, or any other player you want. I think having him as your third striker at 5.5 player, then a 5.5 midfielder is better at this point. You can switch that up. I know the options are not that great in the midfield as compared to the striker section, but I think you should consider that.
Yeah. If you look at the fixtures, also it's pretty good. No, Nottingham Forest, Brentford away, United home, Ipswich home, Bournemouth away in the next 5. Three out of the 4 fixtures are pretty good for him to score. And yeah, I think he did look solid, and he should have probably ended up with a goal or two in that game. And he's probably the biggest talking point out of this game because, as you mentioned, you don't have much information from the way Newcastle are playing. They defended well, so they might as well be the defense of what they were, but the data doesn't suggest that because of how things unfolded. So you don't have too much information from Newcastle from this game, but Southampton definitely, I think Armstrong is someone to consider.
I wouldn't say that it's only a consider for me. I wouldn't say go buy him because again, games said Newcastle were 10 or like a player down. They were only 10 players, so that could also have influenced Southampton to attack more. Newcastle actually gave in the chance. They were not really. They are really at mid block at times and they want to press from the middle. You're not doing that against Southampton that game. So I would say just don't read too much into this. I think probably give both the teams another game. We can figure that out. We have Nottingham Bournemouth. Nothing of consequential importance as of this game. Do you guys have any of the players? Chris Wood scored, but I haven't seen the highlights how that went through. I think we can cover that up in the short map if he is in the
Yeah,
services top
he was in the
25.
box 1-on-1. Had to finish it.
Okay. West Ham Villa. I did you guys watch that match?
Yes, very very
Yes.
end-to-end game.
Yes.
Sarvesh, you'd like to add something?
I think I don't know how. Like I don't know. Just that game ended 1-2 in favor of Villa. I don't know how that happened. I think in my opinion that game should have had at least a couple of more goals, and I think West Ham should have at least equalized. So I think there were a lot of glorious misses that we saw in that game. I felt Rodgers was good for Aston Villa, but I think overall I think West Ham should have scored. I mean, right now you're seeing that that at the top 0.92 on XG, but that shot was actually missed. I think he should have scored that one. I think that's at also at the bottom, not at the bottom. At I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At number 7, you will also see that there's another shot. XG was at 0.58. Another missed shot. So I think they had the chances, they didn't take them. But I think as an FPL manager, if you had those players, you will feel frustrated at why it happened. Same happened with Bruno as well. So I think that's welcome to FPL. It's just I would say.
So, like, we have this graphic through. Something that Sarvesh wanted to prepare and take us through. He had a quick trivia stat for us as well. I think how many game weeks after someone like had the worst
Yeah.
XG shot miss?
So last season it took us like around 3.5 months to get to that missed shot, which was above 0.9 in XG. So if you are going above 0.9 in XG, that means that player should have really scored that goal. And last season it took us like 3.5 months to get to that point where we saw that kind of a miss. This season we saw that kind of a miss, in the first game week itself. So that was a huge change in my opinion. I think like I said, I don't know how that happened.
Just like cold feet, probably. But yeah, anything that you want to take us through specifically through this graphic about missed shots, something that tells us how people. For me, what I'm sort of reading through this for the first time too is which players got into positions for those shots,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
what I want to see, do they have multiple of them? For me, Mohamed Salah is, I think I see him multiple times. I see a Chris Wood, as we discussed, he had an open chance. Jota is multiple times there, so that's positive sign. He's there into.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
And
see
Brent and
Bruno.
Diaz.
Yeah, Diaz is. I
Yeah.
think he's multiple times too. Yeah,
Again,
And
the
also
same
Bruno
Southampton
Fernandes.
argument. Good fixtures.
Yeah.
yeah, could have been. I think he's also what 5.5 in midfield, right? 5 or
Hmm.
5.5 million.
Yes.
Something to
Yes.
5.5.
5
consider.
point 5.
Yeah, something to consider
I
because
think
that
he's at
price point
5.
is
He's
good.
at 5. I think. Rogers is at 5. I think.
Yeah, I think he's at par with Rogers too. Yeah, correct. But something to consider. We have Haaland's chance there. Chelsea's. Uh, I will discuss Chelsea in detail in the next slide, but yeah, just save it for that. Bradley had a shot of zero point 0.5 xg. Anything that you remember of that? Was it
Yeah, I
just
probably
like
was a
one off corner
chance.
shot?
No, the Bradley looked right lively. That probably one thing we missed. Bradley Trent was subbed off in the 75th minute, and Bradley played the last 15 minutes. Looked very lively. Could have probably scored a goal as well. And he was sort of attacking, very attacking as a right back. So that I mean, point to note, but you're not going to see him start. So, but the thing to note over there is the Trent substitution. But that's just because he didn't have too much preseason. I think
Preseason
he'll
as well.
play
Yeah,
more.
that's the reason there. No, I wanted to also point something out. Eze had like what 7 shots, but all
Yeah,
cumulated very like low xg shots is what
very
I'm
low
seeing. He
exit
doesn't have.
shots.
He's not on the list. He's not on the top 25. So that's something to like. There's definitely agenda around it that Eze was good. He was good, no doubt. But all of his shots generally last season were also low xg shots out of the box, sort of banger situation shots where the ball does go into the net. He does have that capability, but when you look at his data, I think you should keep an eye out for that. His numbers are generally not revealing the exact picture. They're mostly low xg attempts that happen from outside the box. That's, I think, the case exactly even this game week. Okay, and we'll come back to. I think we're about that slide is pretty much done. Is there anything else to discuss? No, right? Yep.
No,
No.
Okay, then we just briefly discuss Palace and Brentford. I Munoz got the assist for that goal, for that own goal, and glad to be a
He could
Munoz
have
owner.
actually had another assist. I think he could have
Yep,
actually forced another own goal. I think.
and he generally looked really good on open play. So
Yeah.
if you don't have Munoz, if you want some Crystal Palace cover, that's a good option. But something that stood out more than Munoz and Eze both for me was Flecken in this game. Hands down, man, he is the same monster that you expect him to be. I think going ahead in the season as well, there's going to be tight competition between Henderson and Flecken for that 4.5 million keeper spot. I think I like Flecken more this game week. It could be because of Crystal's attacking output, but I generally like how many saves Flecken makes in a game week. That's, it accumulates a lot of points for him generally.
yes, he was looking at a few bonus points as well
Yep.
before Brentford scored that second goal. And I mean, even if he didn't, and it was a very unlucky goal to concede. Although Crystal Palace did produce so much XG, it was an unlucky goal to concede. Or like that being said, Crystal Palace were very unlucky in their own terms. But finishing the point for Brentford first before going to the Crystal Palace points. Um, yeah, game week 6 that their fixtures turned so well. And that time, I think you have your enablers in Brentford in the way of Brentford. Tony seems like he's leaving. Igor Thiago has a long-term injury, so Wissa is going to start. And Wissa looked brilliant this game. He looked
Yeah.
very central. The link up between Wissa and Mbumo is sort of currently the identity of Brentford in their attacking wise. And Mbumo himself, a 7 million asset who, when he was fit last season, really was like a sort of a dark horse in our teams. And he's on penalties. So Mbumo, Wissa, Flecken could well be considering a triple up of Brentford. It's just a game done, but could well be considering them to sort of enable our wildcard six to get the big hitters.
Okay, I mean, I'm definitely not considering him right now, but it's just like this should be on the back of your mind. Personally, for
Yeah,
me, Mbuemo is the only one I'm looking at. He's the flair pick out of all of them. He's generally very
definitely
talented.
is.
Okay, coming on to the horrible. Not actually. Personally, I felt like Chelsea played really good. I would just like to say that out. Even though we lost, we played really good. We had like a genuine play pattern after a really, really long time. We had a structure to our team. Let's address the topic that people want to know first, which is Nkunku. I don't see him starting on the left wing every game week. I don't see Enzo starting at number 10 every game week. I think it was very specific to defeat Kovacic as a deep lying playmaker for City. That is why Enzo was playing there, just to man mark him out of that game. I think going ahead next game week, he should start number 10. The only problem is that the Felix deal is going through. I don't know who Maresca will prefer now at this point, Nkunku or Felix. It will really come down to both of them eventually down the season. In the next couple of game weeks, probably around game week 5 or 6, we'll get a clearer picture. But for now, if you have Nkunku, hold him. Through the game, as far as I saw, he had couple of chances where he was around the box. He could have made a better couple of passes. Jackson was really bad, so that's probably the reason why you don't see him on the score sheet in terms of an assist or a goal. I think for Nkunku, that's sort of my opinion. I think extensively hold. There's no reason to really worry or like sell him out right away. I think give him time. He'll start at number 10. Apart from that, from Chelsea, Palmer was great as usual. That's something, but his out and just to note, his output did not drop. I think his output will not drop coming this season. Nkunku is not taking anything away from him. Palmer created exactly how much he wanted. He had control of the entire game from Chelsea's side, and I think that will continue to happen. At least from the Chelsea point of view, that's there, and the City point of view is pretty straightforward. I think Haaland was good.
From what I viewed of the Chelsea team, I didn't like the way they were in the final, in and around the City box. I thought that lacked a little bit of intensity, a little bit of being lethal in the box. Jackson was also there. There was a time where Nkunku also was going there. Like their shots were like didn't have any sting in them, and that was sort of that could have changed the course of the game, because I didn't think City looked very solid. They didn't look like they were going to keep a clean sheet. While you look at the best three defenses, while Liverpool and Arsenal looked solid for a clean sheet, City didn't. Although it's like a much more difficult fixture away at Chelsea, City do need their personnel to come back. Foden played 45 minutes this game. Rodri didn't play, and Walker, Stones, they're not back yet. So sort of Chelsea, it seemed like an opportunity missed for Chelsea. They could have shown like something different in this game, maybe a goal or two to their efforts. And yeah, from a City side, I think Guardiola didn't look too attacking. That's what I noticed. But Haaland was Haaland, and yeah.
Okay, and from Chelsea's point of view as well, I think we controlled the game much better defensively. So going ahead, there is a chance for a gusto if Reece James is out for a long time. I think there is potential there in that move or a Chelsea defense later in the season. But we looked more controlling as of what I saw. And I think around the box, I think I agree, but that's probably just cold feet, and like it's the first game under a new manager. It's a big thing people wanted to like go through. Obviously, Nicholas Jackson is a big reason of that 5.46 xg miss shot, 0.546 xg miss shot, and he probably is really bad at that end product. That when it comes to it, a lot of crosses went through him, towards him, where he couldn't finish them. So I think the course of the game will change, especially if we sign a striker, which I shouldn't be saying at this point. Like there's enough players that we signed already, but if there is something that we figure out as a situation, then there could be change in the output we're seeing for Nkunku and Palmer. Anything from your end, Sarvesh? This
I think, yeah, I
majorly
mean,
what.
fair points. Fair points. I mean, I agree with all those points. One thing that Akhilesh mentioned, that Guardiola didn't look that attacking. I feel City overall, from the two games that I've seen them against even United, I think United had a lot of good chances. They could have easily scored a couple of more goals. So I feel like you said, that City are still not at their best. Not they still expect their some of their players to come back, and then I think they'll start looking good. So at this moment, we discussed at the beginning that if you should get Trent in your team. So I think right now, at this moment, if you have Guardiola in your team, and if you think that you are missing out on too many points, then probably you can do that switch, because I think from defender to defender, I think switching from Guardiola to Trent, I think that's one thing that you could do at this
Yeah,
point.
I agree. I think for now seems like the case. It's just that game week to Ipswich is probably a nailed on clean
Yeah.
sheet, so
Yes.
it's too hard to do that this game week.
Right. Yeah. Probably from next game, maybe. Yeah.
Yep.
Agree.
Last game, I saw this game out of personal interest. Solanke, just wanted to say that he looked absolutely good, phenomenal, played the 90, and there is no chance he's leaving my team apart from like a particular reason for funds, maybe a tough fixture run. He looked genuinely good, and I think he'll get into the system. He was there in the box. He had a couple of shots as well. I think he'll be on the score sheet soon, in my opinion. Tottenham, Pedro Porro looked good, but he moved out from some calf injury. I think he was subbed off.
Yeah, should sort of wait and watch what sort of comes out of the press conference on Poro. There were a lot of like sort of chat going around on that it shouldn't be too severe and he should be able to come back from different sports scientist point of view. But we'll hear from Ange. I think he's an honest man in his press conferences, so we'll know about Poro at least if he's out or not. Yes, Solanke. The two people I personally was dreading this week was one was Gordon and the other was Solanke. Glad that both of them blanked, and but was not like, I mean, when you look at Solanke, he did look very lively. He did look like someone who has a full preseason, who's full of confidence, entering his peak years. Does look like a very promising asset in Spurs, and I think he should start. He should get going soon with goals and assists as well. So I think he's definitely a hold, solid asset to have. Not a buy at this moment because of the same fixture reasons. Maybe you can
Yeah.
look at him at a game week 6 wildcard again, but very solid hold.
Yep.
Agree.
But he's not there on
Point
the
on the
short map though. Is he there on the short map? No, right?
No, I think yeah, he didn't have the XG. He had like 0.4 XG for the
Yep.
entire game. Was not on top of it, but his involvement was there. He was central with how Spurs were playing, so that was definitely on there. But one guy who was not I was not very confident about in that Spurs team was Son. If you did like see the game, he was sort of
Right.
looked like the least probable premium asset, like we discussed earlier as well. So did look like someone who's going to be an avoid for a while unless he himself gets into a more like sort of inside forward space. But you see, Solanke will be occupying most of the space.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a trend this season. So, but Madison, but just to add as well on that point, Madison looked good. So, he is probably the second most essential player of what I saw from the Tottenham attack, and he's probably
Yes.
over Son in terms of that output as well. So, let's see how it goes this season. But we're touching the hour mark. Just quickly, let's skim through the fixtures. We want to talk about one particular triple captaincy topic, which Akhilesh has a agenda towards. So probably he can take you through his opinion on that.
Yeah, I've been wrapping my head around a very early triple captaincy, which I'm generally not a fan of. But if you sort of look at some of the, I mean, bringing up the Ben Krellin fixture graphic, which he posted yesterday, which is sort of very important to look at first, is what we have as in terms of double game week. Like historically, we have looked at sort of the double game weeks where we want to do a triple captaincy, the double game weeks and where we want to do a bench boost, free hit, and use all our big chips. This year we have four of them. What is there in our cards right now is four chips. We have a mystery chip which we won't know until January. We have the free hit, we have the triple captain, we have the bench boost, and these are the fixtures we currently have. But and from a very direct view, I don't see them being like standout triple captain fixtures for your big assets. Maybe ask for Arsenal with Chelsea at home and Ipswich away could be there, but I don't think the Crystal Palace at home and Liverpool away would be that much. Looking at Liverpool, they have Aston Villa away, Leicester away, two away games, Tottenham at home, Arsenal at home, two big fixtures. And with Man City also, Brighton at home, Everton away, you don't know how it's going to turn out. And Aston Villa at home, Southampton away. This is a very, very, very macro view. This is going to be 6-7 months later. So many things can change, definitely. But looking at that early on, you look at those fixtures, they look more as weeks where you'll be using your bench boost and free hit, and you don't know what your mystery chip is offering. So if that looks like a chip that could be utilized in one of these weeks, and this is a change that's there this season because the FA Cup fixtures, there are lesser FA Cup fixtures which are clashing with Premier League fixtures, which lead to blanks. There's only one weekend, which is game week 34. So it's just a very broad view at things that sort of will look at helping you with your triple captaincy. And coming back to game week 2, which is where we are right now, and Haaland has Ipswich at home. Uh, Full fit preseason Haaland, raring to go, looked lively against Chelsea, has De Bruyne for feeding him at this point. You don't know how many of the weeks later in the future you'll have a De Bruyne who's also had a good preseason feeding you. Foden played 45 minutes, so I think that would also sort of help Haaland. Yeah, like a few things that sort of are falling in place towards this game that probably brings me towards seriously considering having a triple captain. And I was looking at other fixtures in the future where you have a single game week as well. You have like where you have Liverpool playing an Ipswich at home or a Leicester at home, same with Man City and Arsenal as well. But they come in periods where you have like a Boxing Day fixture or it's a midweek fixture where you won't know. Champions League will be kicking. There will be rotation risk. So that sort of is bringing me back towards having a very preseason, a very early season triple captain mindset to possibly maybe look at Haaland. But I just like to touch up one sort of disadvantage as well is you don't know that mystery chip, and you sort of would want to hold this to sort of have more information, bigger idea. So and being someone who plays a long term, this could be a skeptical thing. But more than any other season before, I think this is when I'm actually considering a triple captain in a single game week. And we have seen historically that triple captain is always not the chip that is giving us very high points. We did get with Salah in 21-22, but not every single season. So these are a few points that I was wrapping my head around.
So the $1 million question is: are you triple captaining him, Haaland, or not?
Currently, yes, but I mean there is my the way of style of FPL. It looks a little beyond my way of playing. So that sort of might have dragged me back. But currently, I have put the triple captaincy on Haaland. But yeah, that's my strong consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any other point, like any points against it. If you want to, the whole part where it's going to be very far, anyways, for now to decide how fixtures in game week 33, 36 would look like for double game week. I see City having one of them as Southampton. The other ones are Crystal, Everton, and Villa. Uh, and Southampton, I think. So sort of those three, and the combination would be between the three games, and it could pan out anyways. So I'd given City the caliber, the team they are. I don't think that's a problem to us. I think that would be equally fair if City have a double game week there, and I would like to wait with the triple captain option. That's personally my stand. Although, if you feel like if you want to right now, you can go ahead. The only reason I'm not that bullish on a triple captain right now is that game week 2 anyways sees a lot of game rank fluctuations because a lot of people don't have Haaland. You already are ahead of the curve. It will yes get you to the top 10, top 20, probably top 100k, but that would irrespectively happen if you captain Haaland as well. There's going to be a large shift in rank, so probably just wait it out. You don't know what your other pieces of the team are looking like. It could be a game week where all of them fail and it's just Haaland with you still end up with 70 points, which is not optimal. I don't think everyone has the most optimal team right now, and down the season they will have probably a better team and structure, and they're more confident with the other assets they own apart from the triple captain. So that's my point of view with that.
I personally don't think it should matter. It's when you think he'll get the most points, when you can effectively sort of get the cumulative whole points for that particular week, and sort of have a better use of the chip, have a better chip to use in the game week where you could sort of triple captain him. Uh, yeah, Haaland has a soaring start to every season, which we've seen, and It's just the way the guy is sort of looking at right now in shape and form. Scored a hat trick against Chelsea in preseason. Scored against Chelsea again in game week 1. Full preseason. Will be playing 90 minutes. Yeah, that's sort of aligning towards a fixture. What are your thoughts, Sarvesh?
I think the only point that I want to add here is that I agree with the points that you made. Excellent points there. Only thing that I want to add is that I expect Kieran McKenna, the Ipswich manager, I expect him to uh, to be more pragmatic. I think in this game, because I've seen them play in the first game week. I think they are a very attacking side, and I think till that I think for first 50-55 minutes, I think they were there. It looked like they are pretty much there in the contest. It looked like they will also score at any point. So I think I expect them to tone down a bit. I expect them to sort of do some more defensive work. I expect them to change their style of play a bit, because I think that's what I expect from a smart manager like Kieran McKenna. So I think from only that this is the only thing which is preventing me. And again, you mentioned style of play. So I think playing triple captain, I think at this moment is also not my style really. So I think that is also one more thing which is preventing me from doing this.
And the only person whose style really aligns with this is me. And by the end of this conversation, the only guy who would be probably convinced of this stupid idea is me. And so I think we probably should just conclusively decide whether we want to or not, because the more we talk about it, the more I fall into this trap where, okay, he's Haaland, he's playing Ipswich, can happen. Ipswich look bad at certain points, but no, I should just probably contain my thoughts, not triple captain him, not go for that, as I said.
I
But
think it's early
there is a
thoughts
case
for
for a lot
me.
of people if they want to. People have different agendas. It's the same logic with
True.
bench boost game week 1, which I was also strongly considering. If you're someone who wants to get, because have this also, it's sort of a theory, not proven by data, but I have this theory that the earlier you are in the top, closer to the top 10k or in the top 10k, which is through a bench boost or a wild or a free triple captain of that sort, there is more likely of you holding that rank, because in that case you just don't have to put too many bets against your team. Then you just have to sort of put just the more logical bets, and they pan out generally well, because there is enough content and validation around that. So if you're someone who's really looking for a rank and wants to play that game, I think it's a good opportunity to get into the top 100k. This will definitely get you there if Haaland scores a brace. If you're someone looking for that, you probably should triple captain him, but otherwise, personally, uh, seems a bit rough. You probably want to wait for more exciting opportunities, because I wouldn't mind like a good triple captain on, let's say, a Solanke if they have a double game week in a good sort of set of fixtures. We're just looking at Haaland and Salah for now, maybe Arsenal, but there are other teams which also provide that option. Eze is good. Mateta was really good at the end of the last season, so those options really come up at the end of the season, probably the second half of the season, and that's what I like. It's not just the top players, but like Bowen was a great triple captain option last season. I think a lot of people went there as well. So those options really come up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me personally, it's a very early thought, and I want it to evolve. I want to look at sort of data on how Haaland is. I mean, it's just on top of my mind that he's been very good over the last 2 weeks. How exactly good has he been, and what like is a structure of City and the opponent that is looking at that will probably be in my decision, and the other fixtures I'll sort of look at it more deeply when it falls and what could happen around that. So many different things could happen, but you just try to weigh in with what you think is most likely to happen, and that sort of comes back to your decision. But I think I'm sort of 75% currently leaning towards Haaland. Could change. Haaland triple captain, but could change.
Okay. We would love to know at the end of the week your thoughts on that and position
Yes,
on that.
I will let you all know also, guys. I probably put a thread on Twitter, FPL Tips page, to just discuss about the triple captaincy. Is it actually a serious shout, or is just the biggest trap that has been laid for you in FPL?
But okay, that being said. So for now, Akhilesh is on triple captain. Yes, the two of us, Sarvesh, I think, are no. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, let's switch to game week 2. I think captaincy is out of the way. I think that's not a debate. Let's just discuss captaincy for people who don't have Haaland. Uh, would you
Salah.
recommend the Liverpool captain, Salah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Same.
one thing to note: Brentford don't look the best of defenses. They
Yeah,
are
they were
playing.
conceding
They
shots. Yeah.
probably will play fire at the back against the bigger teams. That's generally the plot that Frank has against the big teams. But Palace, I think they did look like they were conceding chances. Flecken was really good, and with their final game preseason game, I think it was with one of the Spanish sides, and it ended 4-4. So you do see that Brentford don't look the best of defenses right now. So that could be capitalized with captaining Salah, and you've gone with him. I don't think Saka against Aston Villa is a good option.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I
I
think
agree.
Brighton are a good defense. I'm not sure if Bruno is a good option as well. Only guy who you could see is Solanke, but I just go and back Salah
Yeah.
with the
There's,
pedigree he has against Brentford at home.
yes, there's enough unknown as well with Solanke. We don't know if penalties are a part of his sort of structure and everything. So it's better to go with Salah for me as well. Trent, do you think Trent is an option this game week? If you don't have Salah, you just have Trent and no Haaland?
No,
No, right? Okay.
not confidence. Like even though there was a good defensive performance overall, not confident about Liverpool keeping
Okay.
a definite clean sheet, and I wouldn't recommend.
Uh,
Salah has much higher upside.
a couple of moves that people are considering. Just wanted your opinion. I think a lot of people are considering Muniz or ASR versus Leicester because Leicester looked weak. I agree, but again, Fulham didn't look crazy appealing to me as well. So personally, for me, I think it's an wait and watch. If they look good against Leicester, you can jump on for Ipswich, but not for Leicester, in my opinion.
There's an important point I'd like to just point out over here, because that this happens early on in the season or a lot of season. That's where I think you jump the train as soon as you want. You just you just see 1 week of someone and you're like, enough of this guy. I don't want to like sort of watch this match anymore. That guy seems more like sort of exciting, and I'll go jump there. You've gone with whoever your striker is, Solanke, Armstrong, Joao Pedro, Muniz. You've gone for a reason for them, and trying to back them in those fixtures. Maybe not Brighton, but the others. And you've gone with a structure. And making a transfer in game week 2 is something I'm not a great fan of, unless you're forced to do that. Unless you've made a big blunder by not going with a certain player. But other than that, I feel like you don't need to make that transfer, especially like when it comes to like a forward or an attacking positions, because there's too little of a difference from that. And the other thing also which happens early on in the season is you look at some goal scorers who generally are not who you sort of count on. Historically, Jamie Vardy was, but now he scored a game week. Like there would be a tendency for someone who's sort of new to FPL to sort of jump onto that. And I say an important thing would be sort of holding yourself back and not jumping into assets who've probably scored in game week 1, and you are like sort of happier with that. Again, trying to hold the transfer for game week 2, I think is becomes very important for at the start.
Just because you said that, like, made you make a big blunder and stuff like that. Uh, like a lot of people have Salah, don't have Haaland. I think generally the teams that have Salah are near the 80 point mark. Do you think it's worth the -4 to get Haaland this game week?
No.
I think it's fine. If you have like 80 points scored out there, even with the structure change demand, the next two fixtures for Haaland look much better. Just we were right now just considering triple captain. He's definitely a captaincy shout that given that case. And I think he will cover. I mean, you already made up the point for last game week with the hauls that Liverpool got. I think there's a genuine case to switch around and get Haaland this game week. I wouldn't mind the -4 there.
Not removing Salah when he is playing Brentford at home. Then he has Man United away where he's known to score goals, and then he has 2 home fixtures after that. I'm just not a fan of moving good players out for other good players, even though it's like a home fixture against Ipswich probably looks like the best fixtures. You have that 20-point head start because you've gone with this move. You don't need to keep making those moves. I'm not a fan of a -4 here. And again, -4 is not one transfer; it's 2 transfers. You don't have 2
Yeah.
transfers next week. That's another important thing I think keeps. It's a hidden thing about transfers that people don't look at too often.
Yep. I agree with the case made here, but I still feel that I'm at least I'm of the opinion. If I was there, if I had the 80 point sort of structure already made, like 80 points in my bag, I would spare the -4 because Haaland in the next two looks like captaincy, at least in in this game week for Ipswich. And then you can always rethink about Haaland, Salah coming game week 4, 5, 6. So I'm of that opinion, honestly. And my only logic is that I'm okay spending the 4 million there because the captaincy one would make up for it. As we discussed, Brentford will go defensively deep. They're generally not that easy to break through or break into as well against like a big team. So it's not going to be an open game as much as Ipswich probably would be. I think the ceiling is higher in the Haaland game. That is why I would just spare the 4 million there, 4 points. Sorry, that's sort of my opinion. I mean, it's not that convincing, but I agree. But that's sort of where I am on that.
Yeah, it was strong no from me. Not the way I would play the game, just the way,
Same here.
just our own styles.
I won't take out Salah at the moment. So if you have to do it by sacrificing someone else, I might give it a thought, but not with Salah. Salah has to be there in the team.
There's only few chance that you could make it without Salah,
Yeah,
with Salah in your
exactly.
team. So
Yes. So that's a
for
no
me,
from me.
okay. Personally, I would, but okay. Well, there's not much conviction here on the Salah to Haaland move. So I would like the panel most likely agrees on keeping Salah and not going for that move. Nothing stands out, I think, apart from that. No captaincy option as well. And yeah, with that, we're about at the end. We're done
We
with
have
it.
some time for a few questions. I think there are quite a few in the chat.
Yep, we'll just pick up a couple of questions quickly. Like we didn't discuss Garnacho. If you have Garnacho, a lot of people when Garnacho he was expected to start. Do you see him starting, Sarvish?
It's. I mean, he could start, but again, his minutes will be is a big talking point because right now, what we have right now is Rashford, Ahmad, and Garnacho. I think these three guys, I think, in my opinion, will play 60, 70, sometimes 55, 60. So I think I won't really go there at this moment. I will still take some time and see what happens in next few games.
Okay.
If you do have Garnacho, then you probably ship him out.
Not at the moment. I mean, just skip him and see what happens in the next game. Worth
Okay.
keeping him.
We discussed Konsa, a lot of questions on Konsa. We discussed Konsa in detail during the Liverpool sort of segment. So maybe you can just scroll back, check that. Rahul had Kulusevski, Konsa, and on the bench he has a dead sort of bench too. Should he sell players? I think he should. Then in that case, Kulusevski should be a priority sell. Get in a midfielder for that price. Konsa can stay, as we said.
Who do look like the best cheap, like less than 7 million midfielders right now? Nkunku looks like a doubt.
Bailey, I
We
think.
don't.
Bailey, wrong fixture, but Bailey.
Yeah,
And
you
there's
have the wrong fixture
Diaz
for
as well.
Bailey.
But Diaz, you could go Diaz. You can go Diaz and Diaz from Southampton. I think his name is Brenton
Ben
Diaz.
Brereton Diaz.
Yeah.
Yes, Brendan Diaz. And then you can probably take a
Smith
chance on
Rowe
the
might be
Southampton
one.
defense. I prefer Diaz over Smith Rowe.
Yeah.
At least I've seen enough, and we've seen enough from Diaz not only this season but last season as well, even in the preseason. So there's enough validation for Diaz for me. And Bernardo Silva, I think generally anyone apart from Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, or Haaland from the City attack is an avoid. Uh, he played on the wing. This game could be structurally different from the next game. I wouldn't really put money on Bernardo Silva.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that brings us to the end of this one. We had a good long chat. It's about 1 hour 15 minutes. Any other last minute we will discuss? We will bring in our teams and put in a different video. So the team video will come in differently if you want to know our ranks, our moves, and what we're planning in terms of transfers. But any last minute thoughts that you have on this?
Service.
I'm just waiting for Pedro Porro's injury update. Because he is my first defender, so I want him fit because I don't have Trent. So I'm relying on him to give me those points. Him and Yunus, I have them both, so I'm pretty much relied on them. So I think I'll keep a close eye on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's time to pay back the non-Haaland owners from Gameweek 1. It's like sort of the battle happening right now. 20 points. I think I got 63 points this week. What about you guys?
I had
About
about
68.
56 or 57.
I had
Yeah,
68.
56.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty good. So it's still 15, 20 points behind the like the non-Haaland strategy where you had Salah, Saka, and like Jota, everyone. So it's sort of our time to have the week, I guess.
Yep,
Yeah.
we will come back with this next game week and figure out who scored more points and did we really triple Captain Haaland. But on that note, we'll end the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. If you watched till the end or through any given point of this podcast, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell icon because that really helps us notify you guys, and then you can watch us more often and regularly. But on that note, we'll end the podcast. This is the FPL Tips team signing off. Cheers.